So if you have strong mothers, educated, trained, committed, passionate about the things they want done and the changes they wanted to happen, I believe that Liberia would have been a better place. And so I joined the bandwagon of Liberian women who were part and parcel of this journey of ensuring that more women got brought on board at the different branches of government and across the governance spectrum of our country. And this is the journey I've been on for many years. It's a passion of mine because I always tell people that my mother didn't believe in education and didn't see the value of what it would bring to us and insisted that each one of us got the best education, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. So I'm an example of what that kind of a policy can do to empower women. It's not about having men step off where they are. It's about being partners and putting your best foot forward and doing what you believe is your passion.
What is the biggest challenge for women progress in this country
Today
today?
is a male-dominated society. I think that's our biggest challenge. Men are used to being in the limelight. Men are used to being the decision makers. It's their space, they feel. Because I know 2 or 3 generations behind me, when the issues of governance and development was being discussed in the village or in the town, in the city, only men went to that meeting. But the decisions that they take actually affect the woman. How far is the well from the town? Why should I have to walk 5 miles to get water when that well could be built right in the town and it'll be easy to access? You know, why do I have to go and walk miles to get wood? Why is the school being built so far from the village that I'll be afraid to send my younger children? So you see the decisions that I'm taking, especially when kids are younger and that the mothers are involved in, have to consider their opinions because in fact they're the ones who actually make those systems work. So how can you talk about a system, building it or developing it, and a woman is left aside? So I think today is a little bit better. You have girls who are educated in different fields, but we're still struggling. The pay grade is not the same. They will offer a man much more than they will offer you if you would take that same job. And then the woman will work much harder. So I think we still need to talk about the stereotypes that are in our governance system across the spectrum of it, where people prefer a man to a woman. I'm the first female vice president of a country that's 172 years old. So you can see how far we've come. And I don't want to tell you about the struggles that I face, but the fact is that even when you get to this level, there are many challenges.
So, in terms of women progress, should women, girls, should they wait to be given the opportunity, or should they challenge the status quo and take what is theirs?
I think what drives that is the passion that one has. And when you have a passion for something, you don't ask, you just do. And by doing, some of the stereotypes have been reduced. But once you get to that place, you have to always prove yourself. Because even the men around will say, okay, we need to find a space for gender equality. They don't believe you can equally do that job. But when you start to produce and you're prepared, and then you break them down and you're able to work with them. So it takes a lot from the passionate stage to the point where you now are a successful person in whatever field you choose. And so the space will never be given freely, I don't think. I think you have to find your way into it somehow.
You met a young a lady from the U.S., Hedy Zussman, who came to Liberia to sort of like jump on your bandwagon to help women. Those kinds of partnerships, are they important to the progress of women in this country?
And let's look at the African context. How do we learn how to dance? How do we learn how to cook? We learn by seeing. We learn by seeing others. If a little girl is learning the dance steps, she watches her grandmother, she watches her mother, and she mimics what they're doing. No one ever really says, come, let me teach you. You see what they're doing and you get involved. If you're cooking and your mother says, put a pinch of salt in the food. What's a pinch of salt? It's not a tablespoon, it's not a teaspoon, it's not half a teaspoon, it's a pinch. And so you learn your mother pinch it and throw it in. And if it's too much, you will learn over time what a pinch is. But no one ever tells you a pinch is, 10 pieces of salt. You just learn to do it as you see it. That's why women who have succeeded, let me say it that way, in their jobs are important. Because a little girl in the furthest village in our country can now tell you, I want to be president of Liberia. And someone will say, where do you get that from? She said, oh, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was president of Liberia, so I can be too. So we learn by seeing. And so when you have visitors that come in and talk about the difficult, because there are some difficult career choices, but there are some people who would like to be that. And when you have people come and say, well, here am I, I've been there. These are the challenges, these are the benefits, this is what I have achieved. Then you show by doing that it is possible. And so it's important when our special guests come and they're able to interact and engage with young people who are interested in the sector, and show them, talk to them, be real. What is it really like? I had a little girl come and visit me the other day. I forgot what day it was. We were celebrating something about the child. And her job was to come and be vice president for a day. And so I said, well, come and visit. And so she came along, she visited my office, she sat in my seat, she saw some of my papers. I explained to her what my day looked like.
International Day.
Yeah, International Day of the Child. And she was like, wow, this is a lot. I said, this is just the surface of what she was laughing. But she now can understand what it is to be vice president. And so, you now have shown that it can be done by others. And I think that is what is important as we continue to work with our girls, because instead of saying, reading a book or seeing a movie, hey, this is somebody I've seen, I've touched her, I know it's real, then their dreams and aspirations go through the roof.
What advice do you have for the young women in this country?
That the journey we're on has not yet ended, that we have had some successes, but there are many, many, many more things to do before we achieve gender equality. Though we've had a female president for 12 years, if you look at the gender statistics today, you realize that we've actually gone back a little bit. That as many women in the cabinet that were there before are no longer there. I think we have about 3 women in the cabinet. What are the issues? How can we continue to look at it and encourage our young girls to become prepared, to train, to get ready for the leadership positions that they must face? We also hope that they can look at the challenges where we have the huge gaps, and let's work together. Some people believe the gender quota is one way to go. In terms of the legislature, we have to make educational opportunities available to get more female judges in the judiciary. In the executive, there's one law that we just passed. It's called the Local Government Act, that now insists that you find women to be a part of the governance structure at the local government level. But it must go from the top to the bottom, so that in every aspect of our national life, women are involved in the process. And not just in the normal areas where you want to be a teacher or you want to be a nurse. Most little girls say, I want to be a nurse. Not many of them say, I want to be a doctor. So how do we inspire them to know that if you can be a nurse, you can be a doctor? Just a few more years of study, but then they think, okay, I can be a nurse. I've seen nurses. I haven't seen that many women doctors. So those who make it to the top must also begin to turn around and mentor those who are at the bottom, to encourage them so that they see and they can feel that this too is possible.
If you can visualize it, you can be it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add I didn't ask you?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for coming. I'd like to say thank you to NBC for looking at Liberia. There should be an easy relationship because of the ties that bind both countries. When you look at the Israeli link, you know that Liberia was the one who did the last vote that made Israel a state. I believe that we're an English-speaking country. A lot of the things we do are almost mimicking what America does. So I think NBC could have an easy opportunity to transfer skills and knowledge to young women, maybe by helping us open a school for filmmaking or journalism at the different levels, so that we don't have to take those who want to be in that field to Ghana or to Nigeria. And Liberia should be a normal ally, and I think the Americans have not really taken advantage of that fact. You'll find they have many more things going on in other countries than we have here. But I want to say that we're a country that's ready. We've gone through a long process of crisis, but I think we're on the path of peace and development. And there are many challenges, including capacity building of our people, and not just the girls, the boys. I had a meeting with the Liberian ambassador to Sierra Leone this morning, to South Africa this morning. And we're talking about capacity building for girls. And he raised a point that made me sit back a little bit. You know, he says, would you want a Liberia in which the girls will now take over and the boys will be at the bottom? He says, if you're talking about development, equity, which is what the women are asking for, we want equity. He says equity is boys and girls. Ensuring that if you have a program, there should be 5 girls and 5 boys, and that's equity. Instead of saying maybe 7 girls because the girls are behind and 3 boys, then you have, that situation could reverse over a few years, and then we'll be talking about how do we now empower boys. There are many more men who are interested in this field than girls, but I think some opportunities should be provided. And so I look forward to working with you or with NBC or with American companies who might want to come and help us build our systems so that, in the next few years, we too can be able to train the young people who we have to take advantage of the opportunities. And like you say, journalism is not just about broadcasting. There is so much more that's attached to this field beyond your imagination. And I hope over the next few days, both girls and boys will get a chance to see what the field is like, touch a woman who has made extraordinary gains in the field as a mentor, and I'm hoping that you guys will come back again and help us work it.
And this is the last question. In the attempt for you to mention Hedy Zussman's name in one of your sentences, what do you think about Hedy?
I heard about Heidi a few weeks ago from America, and what drew my attention was the Israeli angle of how she had worked as one of the first female journalists in learning and setting up these systems which flowed over to the United States. And I think Heidi is a role model. I think she can be someone that the Liberian girl who's dreaming about journalism and engineering can actually meet and talk to, and her experiences will actually help them in that field, because once you see someone who's risen to such a level like Heidi has, I think it will really inspire many more people than we can imagine. So this is just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg, and all of us, including those who've come already on board to surround this project, will be prepared, and I think the female journalists will have a great time just having lunch with her and hearing about her stories, and I think that will encourage them, so that it's not just about standing somewhere and taking a picture. It goes beyond that. Technology has gone way beyond where we are today. So I think her presence here can inspire our women journalists, and I look forward to working with Heidi on many more projects if the opportunity does exist.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you.
Hedy, you want to take a seat so we can take some pictures with you on it?
Let's do a picture. Hedy, I told you you'll come back to Liberia. Just
Oh no, she's coming back.
take me to phone concert, give you a ding, and you'll be there.
So,
My name
do you
is
have any brothers?
My name is Charles Cassell, and I happen to be the general manager of the Kaiser Memorial Lawn Cemetery, Broadville, Liberia.
Okay. Where did this come from?